So I got my airplane back from its annual, and it never seemed quite right. And the annual was in November, and so it's the winter time in the Northeast, so it really wasn't a lot of chance to fly it and test it. As the weather's starting to get warmer, I'm able to test it more, but each flight it seemed to act a little more hesitant and a little worse, and it had like some kind of weird knocking or backfire. Then I finally got to the flight that I'm going to show you here, where it was just really obvious. And so what I'm going to do is break down the different aspects of the flight and see if you can take a look and hear the same thing that I'm doing. I have a camera on some of the engine gauge, which should be kind of cool. So let's see. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the engine logs from the flight itself. Now this is the entire flight, start to finish, from run up to final shutdown. So you can see it. So I want to show you that right at the beginning, so you can kind of have that in the back of your mind. I'll probably pop these back on at the end of the video as well. But as you can see from these engine logs, what I'm seeing is that cylinder head 2 is clearly having issues. Both the exhaust gas and the cylinder gas are reporting bad data. Now, this did not happen before the annual. When I first saw it, I just attributed it to possibly a bad gauge. To be quite frank, gauge number 1 on this plane for the cylinder head temperature was always a little funky, and it would go and spike up to 500 degrees and then back down to normal again, which was not obvious go through. So I thought maybe the same thing was happening with the cylinder head too, but as you can see from this, it fluctuates in tandem and a lot. Okay, so this is after takeoff, up in the air, and this is when I'm first trying to lean the plane. So those of you who fly Cirruses in particular, I like to fly lean of peak, and I've never had problems flying this plane lean of peak. The previous owners have always flied this plane lean of peak. But since I've gotten it back from the annual, I've never been able to get it down to lean of peak. Every time I get it down to about 14 gallons per hour, it runs really rough, almost like it's just going to completely stall. There's definitely something not right on this plane. I know it's not right. I've only owned it for 6 months, but I still know that it's just not feeling right. All right, we're going to be leveling out soon. So after we level out, what we're going to do is wait a couple seconds, which is my biggest weakness, is waiting. Alright, so now we've been level for a little while, so now we're going to back this down slowly to 65% power. Alright, oh, and now we're gonna lean that mixture down. I don't like that. There's something not quite 100%. Yeah, it just is not right. So I diverted my flight just as much because of turbulence than just the plane itself, I mean, for both reasons. And I decided to land at an airport that was near my home airport, literally a 5-minute flight between the two airports. But I decided just to land there and do some taxiing. This is when the really interesting things started happening.
Approaching runway 30.
All right, we're gonna head back up to Mansfield. Taunton traffic, Cirrus 4 Bravo Delta, departing runway 30 Taunton. So I'm about to take off here, and this is just not a happy plane right now. This plane is running extremely rough, just bouncing around like crazy. I've never had the plane act like this before. I mean, it felt like a 1964 Volkswagen Bug. It was jumping like crazy. Then things got worse. Then I started hearing the knocking. See if you can hear this knocking in the audio. Taunton traffic, Cirrus 4 Bravo Delta, returning to doing a go around Taunton. So that knocking really got my attention, obviously, so I decided to kind of turn back and head back towards the airport. So what I did was I got up to pattern altitude, leveled off, throttled back, and stayed in the pattern. Let's get over to Mansfield. Taunton traffic, Cirrus 4 Bravo Delta is overflying the runway, heading out to the north, Taunton. Once I was in the at pattern altitude, I thought, okay, this plane is stable enough. I'm going to get it back to the home airport. Home airport has same pattern altitude as this one.
1 mile,
I'm going to go fly direct to final on the runway, and then just get this thing on the ground and see if I can do a run up and a mag check. So that's what I did. Is I flew back to my home airport. Mansfield traffic, Cirrus 4 Bravo Delta is 10 miles to the south, heading into the straight into the down for 32 Mansfield.
Traffic Warrior for Alpha, left crosswind 32 Mansfield.
Traffic, 12 o'clock, same altitude, less than 1 mile.
Mansfield traffic, Warrior for Alpha, left downwind, departing southeast.
Mansfield traffic 97 Quebec is departing the area on the downwind. Runway 32 Mansfield. Mansfield traffic 97 Quebec is departing the area.
Okay, so now that I've landed, I got down to an area and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a run up here. I want to see what happens when I do a mag check and a run up to 1700, see if I can reproduce it. And you can see really quick, I'm going to show you 3 different angles on this and 3 different audios. So one audio is going to be just the headset with the noise canceling. The other one's going to be the GoPro in the cockpit, so you're going to hear that noise. And the other one's going to be on my phone. So I took my phone out and videotaped it. See if you can hear the knocking noise on it. So I don't know if you could hear that. I sure as heck could, and I'm thinking, this stinks. But luckily I'm at my home airport at this point, which means that I now have, I can park it, call the local mechanic, have them come in and take a look at it. So once again, I'm gonna pop up the engine data here, a couple different views so you can take a look at it and analyze it for yourself. All right, so what do you think was the cause? As of the time of this recording, it's still, the mechanic's still looking at it. So what I will do is when I have the solution, I will post it down in the comments of the video.